Well, hey there folks, welcome back to another random episode of the Alex Build Stuff Show. It's that show where I build stuff and I show you. About 3 weeks ago, we arrived in Phoenix, Arizona. Our plan was to do 2 major upgrades to the van. Those 2 upgrades were an entirely new full floating rear axle with 410 gears and a locker, and WeldTec Design progressive leaf springs with a 3.5-inch lift and a 5,000 pound load limit. Our plan was to stay only 1 week in the city, and somehow it got to 3, and at this point I think we're almost on to a month because we got to go back to Phoenix. It's been one heck of a roller coaster ride, and so now we're going to show you. This is the story of how we find a unicorn axle, get big beefy leaf springs, and install everything in a stranger's driveway. Please enjoy. Our story begins here, just inside the Arizona border, on our way to the city of Phoenix. We have big plans to swap out our old and tired leaf springs for new ones and install a new, stronger axle. I've been hunting for a specific, aka unicorn axle, on the internet for months, and I think I may have found one at a wrecking yard. After making a call out on a Facebook page that I frequent, we also have a stranger's driveway to park in and do all the work. We have high hopes for what we'll be able to accomplish in a week. We're in for a big surprise.
Well, we finally made it to this wrecking yard that I've been planning to come to for the past month, and we are very much crossing our fingers that the exact axle that we're looking for is here. And once we verify that it is here, then we can go through the interesting process of figuring out how to get it out from underneath of the van and then transport it to Jose's place where we are going to be doing the swap. So it's a big job just to get this going logistically, but we're gonna do it. Well, we've seemingly been to every single wrecking yard, or at least called every single one in all of Phoenix, and have had 0 luck across all the yards. Alright, so I think that we have come up with what we're going to do. We did manage to find a Diesel Express in a yard in Phoenix, and it had the axle that we're looking for, just not the gear ratio. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go with that axle. We're going to get it pulled. We only pay $500 for that axle, and then we're going to re-gear the axle. So we get brand new gears done at a professional shop that has a warranty, and that way we just guarantee that we have an axle that's going to fit underneath the van, is the proper width, and then we get brand new gears and a warranty. I think it's the best situation. So tomorrow I think we're going to go and get that axle pulled and see where to go from there. We're currently eating strawberry mochis to make us feel better about the day because it's going to be really expensive. And this has been an exhausting trial. Hasn't it? Yeah. It's been a rough one. Alright, I am riding solo today. Meg is working. I just made step 1, which is I went to the yard, paid for the axle. They are now pulling it. It's going to be a few hours, and then we're going to deliver said axle to Let's Roll Off-Road here in Phoenix. They're going to do the gear swap. So it's in motion. It's happening. So the axle that is being pulled out of the van right now is out of a Chevy Express 2500 Duramax, and it is immaculate. Like, I don't know how many kilometers are on the van, but it looks like it was crashed fairly early and then just has sat there in the yard. Like, there's no leaking out of the diff or out of the pinion seal, and it looks like it has the same U-joint on the drive shaft. The drive shaft is only 1/2 inch shorter, so I probably don't need a new drive shaft. This is going really well, aside from having to change out the gears.
and it's also a locking diff. So I'm quite happy and quite excited to get this on the road. Yep, so next scene is going to be us picking up. There we go, full float rear axle. Look at that.
Okay.
Alright, I'm here with Jose. Jose, say hi to the camera. So this is Jose. He's been housing us and helping out with this whole axle swap shenanigans, and we're just about at Let's Roll Off-Road, which is just down the road here, and we're going to drop the axle off with them and then let them do their magic with it and pick it up hopefully next week. So that is where we're at with this now.
It's kind of smooth.
That's a lot of Jeeps. Got it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Drop it on your feet.
Just drop the spring.
I told you. Not light. Atlas Springs.
Atlas.
This Dana 70 HD3 Super weighs in at roughly 280 pounds and is not to be trifled with. This new axle is full floating and has a gross vehicle weight of 7,500 pounds. Some Express 25 HD and 3500 models received the Super 70s and occasionally came with the G80 govlock, which is what we have now in our axle. If you're wondering at this point why the heck we're putting ourselves through all this work, I'll give you the shortest answer I know how to give. When we rebuilt Betty this past summer, we added a pile of weight. So much so that she's sitting only 60 pounds below her factory GVW. Well folks, today is finally the day to do the install. It's been a week of waiting. Unfortunately, we dropped off the axle right before the holidays, so we had to wait a little bit longer. If you haven't watched my Starlink flat mount 12 volt swap video, that's what happened in the week that we've been waiting. Now it's time to install the axle. As you saw, I just did a drive-by with Betty just to show the height of the van right now. As you can see, the back end is just squatting a little bit, and I'm hoping that the new leaf springs will bring the back end just up a touch and level out the van and give us a little bit more space for that big 33-inch tire in the rear wheel well. Okay, I've been procrastinating and talking enough. Let's get after installing this rear axle. With the addition of bigger tires and weight, a relatively small 4.8 liter V8 doesn't have the power to move us efficiently, and we lose precious torque when we're in off-road scenarios. By upgrading to a full floating rear axle and changing the rear gear ratio, we increase our GVW and get the van's factory drivability back by releasing power and torque that has been sapped by the bigger tires. Lastly, a full floating rear axle is much easier to work on, which makes it a great choice for long-term international travel. Having spent as much time as we did on the sand last year in Baja and seeing how much further we could go with better traction, we started to search for a locker. After discussing our axle upgrades with a friend, we learned that GM issued the G80 locker in Express vans right from the factory, making this axle the easiest option for installation. No fabrication, no fuss. Adding bigger springs, we get better stability on the road, more flex from longer spring length, and accomplish more lift than with our 3.5-inch block. And don't get the axle wrap that comes with the block. These springs from WeldTec will really check a lot of boxes for us when we head off-road. There it is! Hey! That's one! This right here is where living in a coastal and wet environment comes back to bite us. I was lucky up until this point to have run into very little rust, but when it came time to remove the front spring bolt on the driver's side leaf spring, I found it seized in the collar. The bolts that Chevy uses for their springs are grade 8, for good reason. It's a one-ton vehicle. However, this made it extremely difficult to cut through, and in such a small space, basically all I could use was a sawzall. It wasn't until I was able to shove a grinder with a cutting wheel in the small space between the spring and the frame that we cut through enough of the bolt to break it off. The removal process for this spring wasted almost 4 hours, 2 trips to the hardware store, and 7 sawzall blades. With the driver's side spring finally removed, we could get started on the passenger side, which, thank my lucky stars, came right out.
Well, I tell you this much, this one is a heck of a lot easier to get out. It's just spinning. It makes me so happy. It makes me so happy. I don't have to do all that again. This is the best Christmas present I could have ever got.
It's suggested by WeldTec to clearance the boxed-in spring perch to allow better range of motion for the new springs, so some cutting is involved. Not to worry though, my favorite thing is lying under a van and getting hit in the face with sparks. Sarcasm. That was sarcasm. I try not to make the mistake of forgetting to use anti-seize. My earlier struggle was a prime example of what you have to go through when things do seize. More anti-seize, don't forget. Alright, well, it's the next morning. Last night we managed to get the second leaf spring in place and all bolted in, so it's ready to go. And all that we have left is, just easily putting this rear axle in that weighs like 300 pounds. I'm really crossing my fingers that we don't have any more kind of unforeseen problems. I think I was pretty lucky to get away with only having that bolt that was seized in the front of the leaf spring. So yeah, I think everything is pretty straightforward from here. So let's get this job finished and then go to Baja.
This is a little, right?
Yep.
Okay.
A little bit more. There you go.
Ooh.
Yeah, just go straight up. Oh, no. Oh, straight up, straight up.
Oh, straight up?
Yeah, it's the other pin's coming out on that side.
Got it.
So just keep on going straight.
There we go.
Okay, sweet. Oh, damn quality right there.
Are they?
And just like that, I was tightening the last bolts, reattaching park brake lines, and putting the tires back on. 2 days worth of work.
And she's on her back on her own weight. Phew! Yeah, we got some space. Oh my gosh. No. She doesn't squat at all. Oh. Holy smokes. Okay. Well, she's still got. Let's see how the flex is. I'll definitely be adding more weight later. We're putting a fuel tank in between the frame and the back. So that's going to add like about 100 pounds. So, yeah. This is like my favorite activity ever, is just filling up diff oil.
It smells, right?
Oh yeah.
It's got a funk to it.
It's got funk. Oh yeah. Man, that's unreal. The pinion angle is like straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a 3.5 inch lift. So they must engineer the pinion angle into the springs.
Yeah.
Well, first little test drive, we're just doing 6 miles just to get the gears started to break in. So I have to do 6 miles. And that right there, folks, is where the camera battery died and things started to go south very quickly. You'll just have to stay tuned for part 2 of this 2-part saga, where we start to get after the resolution of the problems that have developed in this first episode, but we don't know about them yet. In the next episode, I'll also give you a quick review on how the WeldTec leaf springs are doing and how the van now feels with 410 gears. And I think testing of the locker will have to come when we hit Baja, finally. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We really appreciate you guys being here. I hope in some way this video helped you. Maybe it just showed you that putting leaf springs on an entirely new axle on your van while on the road is possible, just with a lot of help. If this video helped you in any kind of way, let me know in the comments below. And until the next one, keep on roaming. Peace.